I will continue to swear, Dustin, this jet ski ain't a goddamn toy. Do you know what would happen if you would have dry accelerated this jet ski on land?
Let's get this straight, okay? I am your mother. Can't say I wanted you. Can't say I didn't do rabbit's tricks to try and get rid of you. If my father let me, you long been flushed down some toilet.
Hey, what's up, Facebook family? How you doing? It's me, Terry Crews again. The subject is dirty little secret. My dirty little secret was that I was addicted to
the world's biggest penis.
You know who you are. But most importantly, we know who you are. And we're not going to allow you to get away with it any longer.
All right, welcome to Last Man on Earth. My name is Lex Jurgen. As always, I'm flanked by Matt Ralston. Matt remains the third unnamed Trump sex escort payoff after Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal. It's a sordid tale of one evening at Mar-a-Lago where Matt traded his dignity for a watercraft. Admit it, Matt, you still feel pangs of guilt every time you ride that jet ski.
I love jet skis. Honestly, that would be on the table. I just don't have anywhere to park one. Why don't you have a jet ski? What's wrong with you?
For the pool, for the backyard, for the pool.
Oh, you drive it down to the marina and put it in the water.
After seeing the TV show on HBO,
Eastbound and Down.
Eastbound and Down, I call it Southbound. With his jet ski, I love his jet ski riding. Every time he got angry, he would angrily jet ski. That was like the best. It's such an ultimately redneck thing that I just don't think I could pull the trigger on it.
Well, I think all people can enjoy it.
A jet ski?
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, I don't know. What happened to swimming?
Chicks dig it.
I tried water skiing once or twice. I didn't really get it. I guess going fast on the water is kind of cool. I just like swimming or maybe some surfing or body surfing seems enough to me.
Yeah, body surfing's cool.
Putting a motor in the water seems like you're doing too much. Feels like you're doing you're no longer having water recreational time. You're now doing like automotive sports.
Well, we're in LA, so everything's kind of corrupted. I mean, most places, if you live in Minnesota, there's a lake nearby.
I'd probably get a jet ski.
We got to go down to the fucking marina, which is filth, and, fight traffic. And at that point, is it worth it? I don't know.
If I lived in the middle of nowhere next to a lake, I guess I would get one.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of fun. Then no one could see me crash and do stupid shit all the time. That's the worst thing. I wouldn't want people seeing my fails over and over again. By the way, I'm going to say this for Trump with the sex payoffs, which have to be legal. I just don't know how they can be illegal. He dearly liked the girls with the big boobs.
Well, it's illegal if you pay them out of your campaign donations.
Well, I guess what happened was his attorney, among other violations. I like the idea that really rich attorneys in New York there might be one of them who's clean. I guess he paid the women from his own account and then put in a reimbursement from the campaign for the money.
Right.
Which was the illegal part. But I like the fact the attorney went out on a limb and put his own cash out to the ladies first. You put the receipt in come on, guys, you got to pay me back. You got to pay me back for that.
It's so obvious that Trump would like a chick with just huge, weird, fake, hard tits.
Yes.
That's so Trump.
Yes.
Because he himself is painted orange and has augmented his hair to a freakish degree.
He looks like an older Ron Jeremy, an old ex-porn star might look like if they lived through their 70s.
Right.
He kind of has that everything's fake look about him. But I do like the fact that people are seizing on this. Well, now they've gone to just imagine how Melania feels. I don't know. She feels like she got paid more than these other girls. She's doing pretty well.
The emotions of a praying mantis.
Yes.
I mean, what does she feel? I don't know. What does she feel when she had to suck Donald Trump's dick for a contractually obligated number of times before he gave her a
well, people call her
ring
during the opposition during the campaign basically alluded to the fact that she was a whore. But now that Trump, had the thing with the other prostitutes, now it's how does she feel as a wife and a mom? It's they really turned the tables on this.
Yeah, who gives a shit how she feels? I looked at, her Instagram account is kind of fascinating, not for good reasons, but she's trying to portray herself as this sort of neglected housewife in this malaise, but in reality, she's just buying clothes and insulting children who are being detained at the border.
Well, she has a social media team. I don't think she does any of that herself, but they've decided the theme will be put upon woman.
Yeah.
And now she's traveling to Africa for 2 months. So she was like, they gave her, I think that was by order of her husband. They sent her to Africa for 2 months. That's sort of like her punishment.
Well, I think that's also her getting out of the country because Mueller's got to her. Trump, the campaign created this shell company that was her best friend, and $30 million went missing. And so,
well, it's not like they can't find Melania
noteworthy.
Trump. They can find Melania Trump in Kenya, I think. She'll be at the mall. I mean, it's not very hard to find her. You think she's going to leave forever extradition? She's going to like hold up in take sanctuary like in Zimbabwe, and like
no,
a
I think
war
she
lord.
has no real interest outside of boots, and
I
think she's just a zero. Basically.
Yeah, I will say this as a parent. I think she does care about her kid. So I think she's actually that's the one thing I think she holds dear in her life. That's somewhat admirable. So, and she has managed to keep that kid out of any photographs or spotlights. I think that's the one thing she does. I'm going to leave it at that, Matt, to be positive. This week's Last Man on Earth podcast is sponsored by Terry Crews, desperate and ongoing attempt to liken himself to a female rape victim. The road to not being the world's first gay linebacker is a rough one, but Crews is stuck with it like a champ. Terry Crews, pinned down, mounted, and crying for help. Imagine that.
Yeah, when is he going to come out of the closet?
I don't know. Like, how does he be like the one? If there's like a slew of guys coming out saying they were sexually harassed, like tough guys saying they're sexually harassed and something, maybe you sign your name to the letter among 50 guys, like ex-athletes who claim they were sexually assaulted just to show that it happens. But you don't want to be the one guy. He's the one guy on every list, Me Too list. He's the only guy, and he just does not fit the part at all. If it was a twink guy, some twink guy who you could see being assaulted, probably a gag dude who probably has been assaulted, the guy Kevin Spacey assaulted or something like that, then yeah, that makes sense. But to be the 250-pound giant black muscular dude on the list, it's just fucking idiotic.
I think he was really like, I'm going to jump on this train.
Yes.
I'm going to be the first one, and maybe other guys will join me. And
yes.
Even like progressive people are like,
no.
Like I guess we'll give it to you. You can do it, but
Yes.
like I don't think we're going to be marching with your name on a sign or anything.
No, we're going to talk about it again too in relation to Asia Argento. But yeah, being the one, if you're going to be the one guy who claims that male-on-male sexual assaults exist, and by the way, I've just gone through the stats so many times, and it really is for straight men, almost never that straight men are sexually assaulted. This is on a criminal case, or they convict a woman of sexually assaulting a man. It just almost never happens.
Well, him pursuing this criminally is psychotic.
Yes.
I mean, he was at a party. A guy, as a joke, touched his dick.
Yes.
What are you, little bitch?
Yeah, and it wasn't like
get over it.
Raped by the offensive line of the Jets or something like that.
Right. If he was raped in the shower,
Yes.
it'd be totally different.
Yes.
A guy touched his dick. I mean,
a Jewish talent agent in Hollywood.
Did he want it to have? Who's married and has kids? Like, I don't know if the guy's gay or not. I would assume he's just an unfunny type of guy.
Yes.
And he was drunk.
Yes.
And he was like, I'm going to touch the big black guy's dick.
Yeah.
So
like a dare, double dog dare.
So at what point do you go, hey man, that's not cool? I might even fire off an email to the agency. Attention, everyone! I didn't appreciate this whatsoever.
Yeah.
Then you move on with your life. Aren't you supposedly super busy? I mean, why do you have time to go into a police station and report this? It's a fucking joke, man.
Well, you got to know too if you're standing up. Like you can say, like I'm sure he was personally insulted, whatever the fuck that means. But to pretend that you stand for a cause, like you're taking the leadership role in a cause that's unspoken when it doesn't really exist, is the worst part about it. Because there isn't like, I will come forward, like you said, I will come forward, then all the other linebackers, ex-NFL linebackers will come forward with their sexual assault stories. Guys, come on, guys.
And then making it playing the race card too in this scenario, totally inappropriate. This is nothing to do with race whatsoever. Could have easily been Bruce Willis who got his dick touched.
Yes.
I don't know.
Bruce Willis probably would have punched the guy.
See, all these football players
remember
have brain damage.
Remember when Will Smith punched that guy on the red carpet? That guy used to go around and try to kiss the actors, that Russian guy? And Will Smith punched the guy, and then they called Will Smith homophobic, which is kind of funny. And, as if you're not allowed to punch a guy who sexually assaults you. That's ridiculous. But they called him homophobic. And that passed very quickly.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't a real punch either. Let's be honest.
No, it wasn't a real punch, but it was like, it wasn't like everyone agreed. Everyone sort of agreed, as they would in the Terry Crews case, that when someone tries to kiss you or grab your junk, you can punch them and nobody gives a shit. Like, that's allowed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I really think he overthought this and that it's contrived to a large degree, but I almost feel like he was going against type.
Yes. Yes.
He's like very, very cognizant of the fact that he's totally roided out of his fucking mind.
Or he's just a really gay, emotionally overwrought man who just couldn't stop himself from playing the victim card. That's also possible. Let's not discount that. Don't forget to become a patron of the show on patreon.com/Last Man on Earth. Thanks to all our new patrons. Get on this shit before it disappears. We got a new patron this week who said that he became a patron of the show only so I will improve the audio engineering on this show. So
Well, that was nice.
it was really nice because for $1.50, I'm going to take a lot of courses at the Learning Annex on how to improve my audio engineering feat. I'm sorry, that's not happening. If you can hear, as far as I'm concerned, if you can hear it, it's good audio engineering. If you wish to contact the show, hit us up on Twitter at Last Man Podcast or on Facebook, also Last Man Podcast. All right, let's get on to the show. Matt, let's go back into one of Terry Crews' friends, Asia Argento. She's the story of the week. I kind of felt bad reading her bio. First of all, I just assume all Italian actresses were all in some sex commune or raped as kids. I don't know why, but it seems like all European actresses. And actually, by the way, wasn't Rose McGowan in like an Italian sex cult when she was a kid? Wasn't that her backstory?
She was in a cult. And there was a lot of abuse. I don't know. It was sort of vaguely international.
Yeah, I think she was actually in Italy or France. It was somewhere along those lines too. So maybe that's why she became such good friends with Asia Argento. But also, by the way, they were both sexually assaulted by Harvey Weinstein. Although in Rose McGowan's case, she only continued to do big smiley photographs with Harvey for years afterwards.
Yeah, and she accepted the money to not talk about it.
Yeah, whereas Asia Argento did all those things, but also continued to have sex with Harvey Weinstein after he sexually assaulted her.
Right.
So there was that. So we understand the definition of sexual assault is rather vague these days, although the definition of statutory rape remains very, very clear, which is you cannot have, in the state of California, you cannot have sex with somebody who's not reached the age of 18. Everybody, madam, I'm giving you a new rule you're not clear on. You gotta know. I mean, does anyone not know you have to be 18 in California to have sex?
I don't know. I would have thought it maybe 16, but I just kind of imposed 18 on my own will.
Yeah, it's probably a smart idea.
Yeah.
Although no one's coming after your millions necessarily. But it turned out Argento, the lead voice, one of the 3 or 4 lead voices in the Me Too movement, a victim of Harvey Weinstein, it was revealed this week by people who leak lots of shit from money to TMZ and other places. Well, can you ever, by the way, we've gone through this before, is there ever a reason to pay for an NDA? Because NDAs for sex cases never seem to actually stop sex case stories from coming out. It's the biggest, Trump,
what are you paying for exactly?
Trump paid $250,000 to Stormy Daniels and the same amount to Karen McDougal, I think. So Asia Argento, through her boyfriend, rest in peace, Anthony Bourdain, paid off this 17-year-old boy she had sex with in 2014, allegedly had sex with. Depending on her text, she either was naked in bed with him, was naked with him standing up, was in a hotel room bed with him, and he got on top of her and she was helpless to stop him because she was emotionally frozen, or they had sex 17 times in bed while she screamed and reminded that she met him when he was 8 years old on the set of a movie.
She met him when she was 37 at the time.
Yes.
And he was 17.
Yeah. No, when they met, he was 8 and she was 37.
But when they had sex?
That was 2014. So he had just turned 17. She was mid 40s.
No, she's not that old, is she?
Yeah, she's make me look it up now. The point is, she played his mother in a movie. In 2007 it was. She played his mother in a movie. Asia Argento is 42 years old.
So this is not something a normal, healthy woman does.
Well,
a normal, attractive woman who's in her 30s does not find the need to have sex with a 17-year-old kid.
Yeah, not while she's. I mean, it's not like she's a lonely Emily Dickinson up in her attic and she's never been with a man before. She's been with hundreds of men. She's been with a lot of men. She's got kids by 2 different men. Right after this, she was married to an Italian director. She had sex with a guy who was a rock star, her first kid when she was younger. She left home at 14 to pursue modeling and acting in Italy.
This is how I know she's crazy and a huge skank, by the way. Because you don't fuck. No one's into 60-year-old guys and 17-year-old boys. If you have a certain fetish for some reason, that's understandable. But
I don't think
only a lunatic has sex with that kind of range.
It seems very opportunistic. So Anthony Bourdain in his 60s seems like there's your daddy figure who's going to take care of you. And by the way, he did until the day he died. And then the 17-year-old kid's the kid she met when he was 8, which, as I explained to you, I don't care how old. Like, if you're a kindergarten teacher, you can never, ever have sex with a former student of yours. Yeah. I don't care if you're 60 and they're 30. It's still never right for, like, someone who was taking care of a child to then later in life have sex with that same person.
It's always weird.
It's just creepy.
It never sits right with me because I'm just like, so when did you first have this idea? What was she, 9, 10?
Yes.
You know, like
like if you used to babysit, if you were like 20 in college and babysitting like a family and the girl was like 9 and like 10 years later you're 30 and she's 19, you have sex with her, that's just wrong. It's just not, it's not legally wrong. It's just wrong that you knew her first when she was 9 years old.
Yeah.
Because then, like you said, the question arises: when did your mind first go to like?
You're basically saying like, well, if we lived in Brazil, I would have been poking that 14-year-old.
Yes,
like that's kind of what you're indicating to me.
The basic assumption is you started thinking about her when she was 9, and you waited till she was legal. And also, she played his mom in a movie, and as acting goes, you have to pretend to be her. He had to pretend to be. He was a very busy kid actor, very successful kid actor. He was in a number of movies. He had to pretend to be her son. She had to pretend to be his mom for some number of weeks or months on the film set in some sort of in a very heartfelt movie. So they were, in that role. Again, you can't ever have sex with that kid. You can never have sex with that kid. And by the way, legally, you can never have sex with that kid until he turns 18. So there's your other problem. So I guess what happened was she had sex with a kid at 17. No one knows exactly what went down in the hotel room in terms of aggressor, passive, who was in charge, who was not in charge. I'm sure that 17-year-old boy was troubled too, because he's a kid actor, and all kid actors are troubled kids. But she had supping. First, she said she just got naked with him, which, by the way, is also illegal to do when someone's underage in a hotel room.
Also, it'd be a weird thing to do.
Yeah.
If you weren't planning on having sex.
Well, I mean, you could decide not to have sex in the end, I guess, but I believe once you say you're naked with an underage kid in a hotel room bed, that's already the crime. The crime's already been committed.
Well, yeah, and I'm not trying to, I'm trying to be sensitive to the issue, but I don't think the guy ripped her clothes off.
No. This guy is a troubled. I mean, even
they weigh the same.
They weigh the same. This kid was.
This isn't Dwayne Johnson we're talking.
No, and this is he looked exactly like a slightly grown-up kid actor, and then he acted like a very troubled kid who grew up on movie sets, and now his career. Now that he was a 17-year-old, he wasn't getting acting jobs anymore. He apparently called her and said he wanted to see her, that he always liked her, and she went to his hotel room and got naked with him in bed, and some sex happened, no matter how it happened. But here's the great spin. The great spin from Asia Argento, because she's Me Too, and I think she believes this actually, is that she was actually the victim, because she was like, again, whatever the fuck emotionally frozen means, while he was on top of her having sex, and that so she felt like she was almost raped, is that you could be a rape victim yourself while you're actually committing statutory rape. Can you imagine any like gym teacher with a high school girl trying to spin the fact that like while he was banging the high school girl that he was the victim, and people go like, well, let's just get all the facts. Let's get all the facts here.
Yeah,
it's quite possible.
I mean, maybe I'm cynical, but first of all, she in these texts changed her story multiple times.
Yes,
it was kind of a twist at the end. Like a 90s movie twist that all of a sudden now she was raped. Like she kind of just tossed it in at the last minute.
First she said nothing. First she said nothing happened.
Yeah.
Then the photo came. Then the photo, which by the way, they paid Anthony Bourdain paid $380,000 to this troubled kid who clearly was clearly blackmailing her. Let's make no doubt about that. He was now at 22 years old. He was clearly blackmailing her because he knew that she was a Me Too star essentially, and now he had a photo of him underage with her in bed. So he clearly is a non-working former child actor who saw this girl dating Anthony Bourdain, this woman dating Anthony Bourdain, and said, "I can get some money out. I can get some money out of this."
No, maybe, or he just wanted to bang her.
No. But why did he hold out for $380,000?
Oh,
yes.
yeah. Well,
I mean, he was blackmailing her. He was extorting her because he said the photo would go public, and then of course it doesn't matter because TMZ does whatever the fuck they do with their cash, and within 24 hours had a copy of the photo that they paid $380,000 not to appear.
the photo, and this is why I just have a hard time believing anything she says about anything, including rape or just even an interpretation of a TV show. Like, I just don't believe anything she says. She said that she texted her friend, a bald-faced lie, that they were standing up in the photo where they were in bed,
Yes.
which would mean that they had propped the mattress against the wall and then taped the pillows to the mattress. I mean, it's a bad lie.
It is.
But it also just shows that she has no credibility. And it's likely insane if she thought that it was a good lie.
And the best part about that interaction is the fact that her friend took about 60 seconds before selling her text to TMZ.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's really kind of sad. I mean, as bad as Asia Argento is, just imagine being that person where, like, your friends sell everything you ever sent them, or it's embarrassing to know
Well, it
about
just
you.
shows, like, the company you
Yes.
keep and the people you associate with. I mean, you know, do you think, like, I know none of my good friends would ever sell my text messages to fucking TMZ.
Well, hang on. What price? What price are we going up to? Everybody has their price, Matt. If someone offered your friend, let's say, $60,000 for the text.
Well, he'd at least come to me first. Do you want to match that?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, that's the honorable thing to do. TMZ does throw around a lot of money for these types of stories because they are the only place that will publish them, and they get so much traffic from them. So I'm guessing the photo they paid $150,000 for to whoever released it, and it can't be it can't be Jimmy Bennett, the kid, because no longer a kid, now 22, because he got paid $380 not to release it, so they could get that money back. So he's not going to sell it for $150.
Could he have leaked it to someone else?
Possible. I mean, anything's possible, but it wouldn't have come directly from him. But assume he sent it to other people beforehand and lied about that. But it's just amazing. And the most amazing part is just a month ago, if you read the LA Times, and you're one of the last 10 people who do, there was an open letter in the LA Times from all the usual suspects: Rose McGowan, Mira Sorvino, Terry Crews, of course, is the one guy. All the Me Too primetime players.
All the hot young actresses, former
Terry Crews,
former big titty actresses.
Yes.
Yeah. And
well,
Terry Crews.
Everybody who basically had Harvey Weinstein jizz on them at some point, plus Terry Crews.
And Terry Crews.
Yeah, Terry might be in that list. Wrote that open letter because after Anthony Bourdain died, there were all the trolls on Twitter and social media started blaming Asia Argento for Anthony Bourdain taking his life, which everyone logical people like you and I think realize that wasn't the main reason why. He was suicidal for like 30 years. He had tried to kill himself many times before. So that wasn't the reason he became from a happy-go-lucky guy to a suicidal guy. But having a crazy chick girlfriend can always throw a guy over the edge.
Yeah.
But they all signed a letter demanding the trolls leave her alone, that she had nothing to do with his death, that she loved him dearly, that she's a Me Too activist, and all this bull crap. That was 5 weeks ago. Now it turns out she's paying hush money to boys she's statutorily raped and hiding it, and made Anthony Bourdain pay the money, essentially.
Yeah, he paid her. And, like, people always, I think, overestimate what people in TV and movies make. And I think Anthony Bourdain had a lot of money. I'm sure from his CNN gig he had a lot of money. But
Not a lot. I looked it up. He didn't make a lot. It wasn't like Harvey Weinstein. He didn't make a lot of money. He had a few million dollars. He probably spent a lot too.
Right.
But CNN doesn't pay it's not like having a network. It's not like being on Will and Grace for 7 years.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say, pure guess, I would guess he probably had like $5 million
Yeah,
bucks
exactly.
in the bank.
Exactly.
So $380K in cash.
It's a lot.
I don't even care who you are, really. That's quite a bit of money.
Well, for Trump, it wasn't
more than Trump paid.
For Trump, it was more than Trump paid. But for Trump, that's not a lot of money. He probably spends.
Well, we don't know how much money Trump has. I think it is a lot of money.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. His attorney fronted it, so that was nice of him. But either way, I think Trump's just cheap. I think he has the money. But 380 grand is a huge amount of money that almost no boyfriend in their lifetime will be asked to pay their girlfriend's ex-young underage lover for not blackmailing her. So you know that you can almost see the conversation where she passively aggressively told him, this kid who's troubled, who was a child actor, who had a crush on me. I met him in a hotel room to be nice because he's so troubled, and nothing happened. But now he has this photo of us. It's very suggestive, and he's threatening to ruin me. And it's okay. And Anthony's like, no, baby, I'll take care of it for you. What does he want? Oh, $380,000 in cash.
Yeah.
Oh, no, don't, Anthony, please. I couldn't ask you to do that.
Yeah,
Here's his number and address.
She totally. So we've established she's probably a pathological liar.
Well, she's certainly good at manipulating men.
And I'd be like, well, let's see how it plays out. I mean, just paying another guy on behalf of a girl for a non-disclosure. Like, if a chick asked me for like $200, I'd be like, no.
To pay my ex-boyfriend.
I kind of have some self-respect
Yes.
still. I mean, I do like that we're boning, but
like if you're
red flag, obviously.
If your girlfriend told you that she had sex with a 17-year-old one time, I guess you would let that'd be weird, but you let it go. But if she told you that happened and now she needs $380,000 to pay him, then you'd be like, yeah, no, that's just not gonna. Now it's really weird. Now it's beyond weird.
And Bourdain knew she was cheating on him the whole time too. You know, I'm sure he knew. And
yes,
it's one of those things where you suspect it, and then you're like, oh, maybe it's not true, but you really know deep down that
he's a smart
true.
guy.
I mean, she was posting these Instagram photos of her and some producer guy, and just if you're traveling for work and you see that, you just think the worst, and then at some point you confirm that the worst is true, and then you hang yourself with a bathrobe.
Yes, that's what people don't understand. Is like, no, I mean, he was 62. What was he, 64 when he died, or 62 or whatever? And he only met her 2 years previous, so it wasn't like she caused him to become a suicidal, depressed person his entire life. But
Right.
when guys are like that, they just need one thing to kick them off, because he's alone, drinking in a hotel room in France. He's majorly depressed, and then he learns that he just paid $380,000 to his girlfriend, who by the way got him into the Me Too championship movement of taking down Harvey Weinstein and calling all men in Hollywood pigs, and became picked up her cause as his cause, something that made him feel good, I think, for the first time in a while. And then he learned it was all a lie. He'd just been played by a woman. That's when you get the bathrobe belt out. I mean, that's all you need. And so it's like, she didn't cause him to be a fucked up person, but she was the last person who fucked him over. And that's you got to take some responsibility for the guy killing himself. Not that 100%, but how about 20? Let's say 20%.
How did these? I guess I kind of skipped over what you said. How did these letters work? Who wrote a letter claiming? What was the letter about? To stop blaming her for his death? Or
oh yeah,
stop
so
trolling her
after
on-
Bourdain died, that was in June. I think in June. Then immediately all the troll, because Anthony Bourdain was a beloved guy, especially on social media. I think everybody loved Anthony Bourdain. He was like a universally well-liked person.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
No one didn't like Anthony Bourdain.
No, I mean in person probably he had enemies because he probably fucked a lot of people over. He just seems like a rough guy, but his TV persona and his personality and his causes he took up were all very noble. And I think everybody liked him. Everyone wanted to travel the world with him eating fucking pig's feet.
That was the one part I wasn't envious about. It's like the pig rectums.
Yeah, no, but I mean, he looked like the guy you want to travel with.
Yeah.
You want to go to Bali with and eat fucking tortoise semen or some shit. He made it look good. So when he died, and people learned about her, not only her being just a troubled past, but also the photos with another guy that appeared. They started blaming her for his death, like he killed himself over a scorned lover relationship. And it got really mean. It was really mean to her. And at the time, before you knew about this latest story, it seemed like, okay, look, this is too much. She didn't kill him. And even if she did cheat on him, by the way, apparently they had an open relationship. Although, by the way, a lot of this information has come from her after he's dead. So there's no way to really, she's kind of like, even the fact that he paid the $380,000 and he insisted on it, who knows? He's dead. I mean, he can't speak to it.
Right.
But she got trolled really heavily on social media with people basically assigning the blame for his suicide to her because he's such a good guy. He couldn't have just been a suicidal guy. And so they wrote. Then the counter came with the open letter in the Times saying, "Leave her alone. She just lost her beloved. She had nothing to do with this."
Who wrote this?
It was penned by Rose McGowan and Terry Crews and Mira Sorvino. I think like 100 actors in Hollywood, all of whom were associated with the Me Too movement, signed it, saying how she was a fearless leader in this cause to stop sexual assault and harassment. And Tony was behind her the whole way. All this shit. So, yeah, she's a fraud. I mean, she's a fraud. Before you knew she was kind of a fraud before this revelation that she paid a kid, an underage kid she had sex with, hush money, which is exactly what Harvey Weinstein's accused of doing.
Yeah.
And by the way, hers is even worse because she continued to have sex with Weinstein after the alleged assault, so which puts into question the validity of her claim that it was a purely physical assault and not a tit for tat type of relationship.
Well, as does the fact that we've established she's a pathological liar, that also has to put into question her claims.
Yes, and just the fact that she's, I don't like to judge people for their lifestyles, but if you're a girl left home at a young age, got involved with a lot of musicians, had various marriages and babies, and then got into all sorts of stuff, and then, by the way, had sex with a 17-year-old who used to be your kid in a movie, and then had sex with a 62-year-old because he's a very solid guy for you at that time you need him. She seems to be a very opportunistic, let's say, lady. She seems to go where go where it suits her at the moment.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, she not that it's like a crime or anything else, but she was at least partially or heavily to blame for the night he killed himself. I think that seems fair to me to say.
Yeah, and she's probably deleted a bunch of messages.
Oh my God!
I'm sure there's a lot of like.
Yes.
So about this open relationship.
Yes.
Shouldn't we kind of, our stats be kind of similar? Because if you're banging 300 guys and I'm working 9 months a year,
yes.
I don't know if that works for me anymore.
Yeah, and how many more like statutory rape victims are out there? You're going to ask me to drop 384 because it's kind of cramping my lifestyle a little bit. I see Bourdain. I can picture exactly what kind of guy Bourdain is, which he is that guy who has to fix broken women, right?
Yeah.
He's that guy who has to take up the most troubled woman and think because he's such a good guy and he's so steady that he's going to fix her. And that seems like the kind of thing you grow out of at a very young age. That's like a 20s thing.
Yeah.
Where you find the troubled girl who also is probably really good in bed. And she's crazy and she's probably cheating on you or she's secretly doing drugs or some shit like that. And she's had a bad family relationship, but you think you could fix her. But at 60, if you're still doing that, there's something wrong with you. Especially when you're a guy like Bourdain, who I presume could get pretty much most any woman he wanted to. He was probably did not have trouble finding dates.
Over a certain age, yeah.
Yeah.
Most guys have a kind of a fatal flaw,
Yes.
No one's perfect, and it seems pretty obvious that this was his Achilles heel.
Bad women and bad drugs. He got off the bad drugs. He was. It turned out he was very good at tying knots with a bathrobe belt. So he was good about that. Yeah, but think about it, like how many celebrities can you think of that were as well liked as Anthony Bourdain just by percentage? Like he really had not a single detractor. He was like 100% beloved.
Yeah, he's diplomatic. He would go to Iran and then he would go to Israel.
Yes.
And he'd go to Armenia and then he'd go to Turkey and there was no real reason. He wasn't partisan.
No, and he loved all cultures. He was like praising all cultures, all religions, praising all shitty food. If anything, he took on the establishment a little bit. I'm sure maybe there's some right wingers who didn't like him, but I don't think they because on CNN. But whatever, they weren't on trolling him. I bet if he went back through his like Twitter feed, it was all positive for years and years. But he's just that guy, and then he's dead, and people couldn't handle it, and he had this bad girlfriend who was fucking around on him and making him pay money. That's the worst. Like just the fact you can see that discussion where she like guides him into paying the money on her behalf.
Yeah. Because
it wasn't like she demanded. She knows how to work guys over. She worked them into like making them feel really good. And because did you see his text? His text to her, they revealed about the money was like him saying, "I want to do this. This is my idea. You don't need this guy in your life anymore. He's obviously a troubled guy. Let's just pay him to go away." I feel like he's like lying to himself in those texts. Like he actually knows the truth, but he's lying to himself to make him feel better about the girl that he loves.
Yeah.
That she's not as bad as everybody thinks she is.
And he also slipped in like, this is not an admission of guilt. Or
Yes,
he kind of
yes.
like went on LegalZoom real quick and like threw
yeah.
a little.
You'll be happy to
there.
know that the LAPD has decided they're not going to pursue criminal charges against her without providing a good explanation, by providing some bogus explanation that made no sense whatsoever.
Right.
So they just said there was many reasons why they've decided not to pursue statutory rape charges against her. None of which we're going to explain to you. Goodbye. The case is over.
Yeah, the case is over, and now this is a situation. We'll see how it plays out. You have to shut the fuck up forever.
Yes.
You don't ever get to talk again.
Yes, and by association, Rose McGowan has to shut up too, because they were all best friends, all in the same thing, and basically had the exact same story. And she has her own little story with DeSalvo in the past and other things like that. That she just needs to be quiet. She just needs to be quiet about. These are very flawed women. Let's say that, to be kind. And you don't want, when you have a virtue-led movement, you don't want obviously flawed people. I mean, like MLK, flawed guy, but his flaws were not right there out in front of him. You don't want a badly flawed person to be the head of your virtue movement.
Yeah.
Everyone has sins and mistakes.
And his flaws were separate from what he was fighting.
Correct.
Also.
Yes. He wasn't discriminating against black people.
Yeah, he wasn't burning crosses
no,
on other guys' lawns.
He wasn't keeping black slaves back in his plantations. Hi, Matt. I want to talk about your favorite rapper and one of my favorite rappers. My favorite rapper recently became Post Malone because the entire news media had to stop for a while. Well, Post Malone, who I'd never heard of before, apparently he's a white rapper with a man bun. That's the best I could do. Had a flat tire on his private jet that took off from Teterboro in New Jersey, and had to track him for many hours in the skies. He burned off gas and waited to land in New Hampshire or wherever the fuck they landed.
Saw that, yeah.
Which, by the way, those landings have about a 99.9% safety record. So they almost never fatal crashes with the low air pressure tire, the blown tire. So he's my new favorite because they got to interview him and he got to talk about how scared he was on the plane, how the pilots were heroes, how he saw his life flash before his eyes. So he's my new favorite pussy rapper.
This is a major news story for 10 minutes, right?
They covered it live on the air for like 3 or 4 hours on most of the major networks.
Really?
As his plane was in the air. Yes.
Why are we still watching this?
It was sort of like remember when what was the golfer's name? The golfer when the plane took off in Florida, remember?
No.
And everybody, oh God, like 10 years ago. He was a fairly, I don't know golfers, but he was a fairly successful golfer. He took off in a Gulfstream, some kind of private jet from Florida to New York, I think it was. And CO2 leaked into the cabin. There was an air pressure leak, and everyone passed out on the plane. Do you remember this?
Mm.
And the plane still flew like for 6 hours, as everyone on board was dead, essentially. And it eventually landed, like, it went off course, and they tracked it with, like, F-15s and shit like that. And eventually, like, had to flew 6 hours, and eventually landed, like, in a Minnesota field somewhere, and nobody got hurt, but everyone on board was dead. But they tracked it, like, CNN tracked it, like, all 6 hours. At least in that case, actually, they could fly. The planes flew by, and so all the windows were all iced over, which means the air had decompressed, which means everyone inside was dead.
They all died?
They all passed out and then died from lack of oxygen while they passed out. They were at like 30,000 feet with no oxygen.
So the pilot has like a separate oxygen?
I don't know how it works exactly, but on these private jets, it's all the same thing. And like once it decompresses, they slowly got CO2 poison, the CO poison, like carbon monoxide, passed out. And then as they passed out, the oxygen ran out after like an hour. And then they all suffocated.
I would think there should be something that starts beeping at that point. I mean, we're so overly cautious.
You think so? Like a little beep, like a little Surrey alarm or something like that? Apparently not. But anyhow, they tracked it because that was actually like dangerous because that could have like flown into like, Chicago. The plane was completely on autopilot and it was just waiting for it to go down. That could have actually killed lots of people. This plane was nothing, but they covered it. But anyhow, Post Malone, whose name I just learned, and I had to look up the fact he's a white rapper with a man bun, which really bothered me, is second only to Tekashi 6ix9ine, XX6 SIXXX NIX. Oh, I don't know what the fuck his name is. So this kid's been in a lot of trouble recently. There's always one or two rappers. It used to be T.I. There's always one rapper who's like in the news every single week for some sort of pseudo crime.
It used to be we knew a few of their songs at least.
Yes,
though.
yes.
Now it's just like a guy with face tattoos is misbehaving.
Yes.
Like that should just be every headline.
Although we played a song a couple weeks ago where he just drops N-bombs over and over again while rapping as we try to figure out what his cultural heritage is.
Yeah, he's not black.
No. You thought he might be Asian, but it turns out his real name is Daniel Hernandez. It's not
a great rap name.
No, it's not. But if you're going to trial in Houston for wrapping your hands around a teenager who was trying to take your cell phone video of you shopping at the mall, because that's apparently what celebrities feel free to do when someone's taking their picture and they don't like it. First, they demand the phone. You got to demand the phone. Mm-hmm. And as if you have some sort of deputized authority because you're a celebrity to confiscate people's property.
Yeah, what person goes, yeah, here you go.
Yes. Like, now
I have no phone.
Well, Tekashi 6ix9ine demanded my phone, and by the laws of the state of Texas, I was forced to hand it over. I mean, there are stalking laws that people, I guess, are following you into the toilet and taking your photo or something.
Well, it's also if you don't want your photo taken, don't have freakish face tattoos and rainbow hair extensions and all, you're asking for someone to take your photo.
Yeah, and also if you don't have that, you're in a mall and people can still take your friggin' photo. Yeah. You're a public figure, and they're not harassing you necessarily. And by the way, also if you don't like it, you still can't choke people out to get the phone back. Not allowed. It's still not allowed. You still have to get mall security over to get involved.
I miss the senseless violence of the 90s when guys were shooting each other. This dude, he's a diminutive guy. In this instance, he attacked a teenager. He also fought another teenager, and he has a sex tape where his friend is getting blown by a young girl, I think 13 or 14.
Yeah.
He's like a
far less impressive R. Kelly.
Yeah, it's like he's so not gangster that he's always starting shit with teenagers instead of adult men.
Well, how old is he himself, though? He's got to be like 20. He's not that. It's like he's 40. He's like 20s up, early 20s.
Well, everyone he gets in a beef with is in high school.
Yes, I assume that's just who he rolls with. I mean, he looks like it could be outside of the face tattoos and the hair. If you give him a clean haircut and put some glasses on him, he could probably be a high school junior.
Yeah.
He's a little tiny dude, looks young. But so he's going to trial in Houston for wrapping his hands around a 16-year-old who would refuse to hand him his cell phone because he was taping him at the mall. And he's now gone to court to ask the judge to insist that his rap name, Tekashi 6ix9ine, not be used in the courtroom, and that his name, that he be referred to either as defendant or preferably by his real name, Daniel Hernandez. Which would work out really well for a guy in a Houston courtroom to suddenly announce that he is Latino, and he has a tough backstory, a Latino growing up in Texas, and he didn't mean anything by this. That seems to be very convenient to suddenly be able to pull out the Latino card when you've been doing N-bomb dropping all black rap videos for the last couple of years.
Yeah, still unclear how thinking you're black, how you then start. I guess you just think you're black, but just pretending to be black doesn't mean that you're actually black. It's like, I wear sneakers and okay, well, you still don't get to drop N-bombs. But what I don't understand, his legal name is not Tekashi 6ix9ine.
No, it's Daniel Hernandez, but they would usually
it's not they're like, well, Your Honor, we're going to hear the case of Tekashi 6ix9ine against.
Well, I think what they don't. First of all, we all know this is idiotic because he has a giant 6ix9ine tattooed across his face, and I'm assuming he's going to wear. Here's what's going to happen. He won't get his hair cut, but he'll style it so that it looks normal. He'll put on a pair of glasses. He'll put on his church suit, and it'll be called Daniel Hernandez in trial and talk about his Latino heritage and growing up and all that shit like that. That's just given criminal defense, standard criminal. But to not be called Tekashi, which is how everyone knows him, is a little silly. I mean, every celebrity has a fake name. None of them are using their real names. So, if, I don't know, Alec Baldwin maybe using his middle name is in a courtroom, they're still going to call him Alec Baldwin. They're not going to call him, Michael Alec Baldwin or something like that. Tekashi 6ix9ine, as everyone knows you.
Well, what if the porn star Mandingo was charged with a misdemeanor?
Yeah, I would still go Mandingo. Well, you can bet if it's in the South and the prosecutor's going to call him Mandingo, there's just no way they're not. Mr. Black Mandingo then took upon this white woman, and he's going to jail no matter what. Well, I mean, it's a very convenient thing to go back to your cutesy little Latino birth name when it suits you. But to be Tekashi 69 when you're fronting, I don't mind. I mean, legally, I'm sure he's allowed to claim this because it is his. He's not asking to use like a fake name.
Right.
It is his real name. But it's almost going to be sillier when he's got the giant 69 tattoo on his face, and they're calling him the young Mr. Hernandez or whatever they're going to call him.
Yeah, I think it just depends on how lazy the people involved are. Because, like, I'll read something in the New York Times, and they're very proper. They have a certain standard of journalism. So they'll say Stephanie Clifford, also known as Stormy Daniels, and then the rest of the article will be Mrs. Clifford or Miss Clifford, whichever it is. CNN is just like Stormy Daniels.
Yes.
It's like that's not her name. That's a name that's on YouPorn.
Yeah, well, I disagree with you on that one. I mean, yes, I mean, if you're the New York Times, you have to use her real name. But if you're a TV outfit and everyone knows her as Stormy Daniels, and by the way, she sells herself still to this day as Stormy Daniels.
Yeah,
she's still touring as Stormy Daniels. So if she's using a fake name and that's how she became famous, and she's still using that fake name. And by the way, it's the only way people. Because when I saw Stephanie Clifford in the story, I had no idea who the fuck they were talking about. I literally didn't know until I read. Oh yeah, that's the real name for Stormy Daniels.
Well, yeah, I know. I don't really care. It's just that's a cheesy porn name, and I think we should just acknowledge that that's not her real name. That's all.
Well, if she had a porn name that was more obviously sexually obvious, they'd probably have trouble doing it.
Yeah, it'd be awesome if her name was like.
Just
like
anal Queen Mary or something like that. That would have been, but they don't. Yeah, that would with a really obvious sexual pun.
Yeah,
that would have been giving them more trouble. But at some point, if you sell yourself on a certain fake name and that becomes a name everyone knows you by, I think that's a very valid name to call you in all public settings. You can't.
I agree. I just think it should be acknowledged. I mean, when it's Tekashi 69, like I don't even know what that is. I don't know how he came up with it. I don't think he's especially creative.
The 69, I'll take a stab at.
Oh right, we got the 69 part because we all thought that was fucking great when we were in junior high school.
Yes.
I mean, I still like the actual thing, but I can't remember the last time I said.
Like Beavis and Butthead and started giggling at it.
I've never said to a girl, "Do you want a 69?"
No. Or do you giggle when you hear the number called like at the bakery? Like you still giggle. I always picture Beavis and Butthead because they would giggle at 69. They just do the devious chuckle.
Right.
It's for idiot middle school kids.
How was Dennis Rodman? He tried to get number 69, and the league said no.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Probably Ron Artest did at some point.
I'm assuming Tekashi 69 was like his graffiti name, right? His tagging name, and he went with that. And I guess it's kind of fun if you see it on the side of a building. Although you would assume he was Asian, and then later you'd assume he was black, but no, it turns out he's Latino. He's Latino. There's no way you would have guessed Daniel Hernandez as his real name. That wasn't coming up. That's really the best part of this entire story. Matt, let me ask you. We got an email about Kelsey Grammer. This is the first ever time we've talked about Kelsey Grammer. Were you a Frasier fan or not a Frasier fan?
No, I've never been. I don't like sitcoms. Frasier did seem to be better than your average sitcom.
It was well written. It was well done.
Low bar, but
yes,
he talked fast, and his brother was gay, and it seemed okay.
It was well. I mean, they made a stab at making a strong comedy for that one, but he's been around. So he was married to Camille Grammer, who I guess wasn't. She's on Real Housewives now, so it's hard to say what she was before. But now she's a middle-aged, drunken bleach blonde woman who gets in fights on reality TV.
She tried to ruin his life, didn't she?
I don't know.
Or is that his ex-wife or something?
This is his ex-wife. She claims that he abandoned her when she had cancer, something close to cancer, in the hospital, and started dating this younger woman who is now his current wife, Kate Walsh, with a Kayte. But Rick wants to know: is Kelsey Grammer's new pube tattoo? I thought it'd be a sex call to get a pube tattoo. I didn't know they were optional. With his wife's name, going to be the new trend among senior men? If so, how the fuck do I get off this planet? So the story of Kelsey Grammer himself. By the way, he's sharing this story publicly himself, like a proud guy. Is that his second wife, Kate Walsh, who I think is about 20 years younger than he, 20, 25 years younger, demanded or insisted or asked him to get her name tattooed on his pubic region. So And Kelsey tells the story like it's a normal thing, and then explains that the reason is so she has him locked up, so that people, should he ever stray on her, which I don't know why he would, since he's only cheated on every other woman he's been with and probably has 10 times already, would see his second wife's name and know that he was the property of her, and they would leave him alone. Matt, how many fucked up things do you see in this? Can you identify in this story?
There's a few problems.
Yes.
Could be dark.
Yeah?
Could be dark in the room.
Yeah, usually I suspect if you're 63 and having sex, you don't want it too bright.
Could put a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah, could do that.
If a chick's blowing a 63-year-old guy, I don't think the tiny little tattoo is the biggest of her concerns.
It's gonna stop them. Like the woman who's cheating with like a rich celebrity, either she'd be paid or not paid woman, is going to care that his wife's name is tattooed. Like put a hard stop on the illicit sex because she then notices the name branded like a calf, like on his pubic region.
Yeah, there's also that you're voluntarily branding yourself, and I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, she doesn't have Kelsey written on her pussy.
I would imagine not. I don't think he would even ask. I don't think I'd ever want someone to have my name tattooed on their pubic region.
No, I wouldn't be able to stop looking at it when I was down there.
No, and also asking seems abusive in a way.
Yeah, it's creepy and weird, and plus Matt is a fairly common name,
yes.
So she could just start fucking some other guy named Matt.
Yeah, that's
Matthew
true.
McConaughey's fucking her all of a sudden.
That's true too. It would also, because it's in the pubic region, it wouldn't when they eventually break up, as they will, and she takes half his money, and he feels like a total jackass because now he has his name on her pubic region. It's not going to be visible to the public, so it won't have to be one of those like Kat Von D tattoos where she dates a white supremacist for a year by accident and has to get his name lasered off her arm like for 17 separate visits.
Yeah.
It's not even like if you're going to brand a guy, do the Tekashi 69.
Right.
Put it right on his forehead.
It'd be so annoying. Like every time, like the chick is like, "Who's Kate?" It's like, can I just get a blowjob
Yes.
once without telling the story?
Yes. Oh, wait a minute. I see someone's name is tattooed here on your pubes. I can't do this. I'm just not comfortable having sex with you, old man, for money. Because as a prostitute, I honor the code of not cheating.
No, I got that when I was 17.
Yes.
It was a tough time. My dad just died. I don't know. Like, just start making shit up at that point. It's not going to bar you from anything, really. And you look like a clown. You look really ridiculous and pathetic. This is a 63-year-old man.
Yeah, and I assume the women he will be having sex with outside of his marriage, which he will be, are either young actresses or escorts, who probably 99% of the men they're with are married men. So I don't know that that's a deal breaker for most of them, that he's actually married to somebody else, which they can look up on IMDb or Wikipedia in half a second since he's famous. And by the way, he's telling the story on TV everywhere he goes, so they all know it anyhow.
Well, it begs the question, because Kelsey Grammer played an intellectual on television. And he can talk very fast. See, I can't talk fast.
Yes. I
don't think I could play that part. But point being, do we know he's not an idiot?
I don't know why he's sharing the story. I just feel like if you are going to become such a submissive that you allow your partner's name to be tattooed on your pubes, which we've only covered in that sex cult case, where the women were branded against their will.
I've never really heard of it outside of a cult setting.
I've never heard of anyone voluntarily doing it. Although it seems like something, I guess tramp stamps started, a few years back for women on their back. Do you know that Khloe Kardashian had her father's name tramp stamped on her?
Oh.
Yes, when she was, I guess
O.J.
when he,
Simpson?
her legally adopted father. She had Rob Kardashian, Robert or whatever it said, on her tramp stamp, which is after he passed away.
It's troubling.
It is troubling because getting your dead father's name tattooed is not so troubling, but putting it in the area where all the NBA guys are banging you and looking at it is really disconcerting. Hey, who's that? Oh, your dead dad. Yeah, can you just keep going? Just like move a little to your left if you don't mind. So I'm almost finished. I mean, that's just bad call. People getting tattoos in general, I don't understand like the idea of tattooing your significant other's name anywhere, especially when you're on your second or third wife. It seems very Seems like something that 18 kids who are 18 or 19 in love might do because they're stupid. But at 63, you gotta cut that shit out.
Yeah, it's just a bad decision, and I mean, I don't know if it's like you're trying to trick yourself, like, well, I'll be kind of fucked if we break up, so this will give me some incentive to behave.
Yes.
That's kind of how I would think of it, but I don't know. But tattoos are different now because you can remove them. It's not an easy process.
Probably not in your pubes. It's not very easy.
That sounds really, really uncomfortable
And
also.
painful and very intimate and embarrassing to have to go in for laser removal in your pubic area.
It's just an embarrassing thing. I don't know what's happening to guys. I can't imagine a 60-year-old guy, like, if that was your dad, he has children. Like, why is my dad getting pube tattoos?
Yes. It's like it's like Dad's cock ring. You know, we don't need to know. We don't need to know about this shit. I'm sure I told you a story before. My cousin is a mortician, and more than once he's responded to a scene of a dead guy in his bedroom or a hotel room, whatever it is. And more than once, the guy's been, it's been a senior citizen. Obviously, he was visited by somebody, and there's like cock rings or dildos and shit like that. And what he does, even though he's not supposed to, is he removes all that shit before there's any police photos or stuff like that because he feels bad for the kids because he doesn't want the kids to find dead, the story.
This guy's a hero.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's like obviously the guy didn't die. He had a heart attack. He was probably having sex with an escort or some kind of hotel room. He's 70 years old. The kids and grandkids don't need to see the cock ring and the dildo and the fucking lube and shit like that. So he pushes it all away in a bag and takes it and lets the police take their photos. But I always thought like, wow, it's illegal, but that's a cool thing to do. You don't need to know that your dad or your granddad's got a pubic tattoo of the chick who's, by the way, is no longer your mom. He's having sex with.
Yeah, I'd go a step further. Put some like bogus like business documents next to him.
Yes.
Maybe
a poem about how much he loves his children.
Yeah.
Like, if I never see you again, children, know that I loved you. Yes. Like
some dumbbells.
Some plans on how to save the world.
Yeah.
Like how to denuclearize the world.
A ukulele.
Yes.
I don't know.
Bring some very honorable props to be found with a picture of his wife to put by the bedside. Really make it look like he was, if anything, he was pleasuring himself to his old lady.
Yeah.
That's really kind of sad. I gotta go. Matt, do you like animal crackers? You seem like a guy who likes animal crackers. Was that ever your thing?
No.
In the red box, those crackers.
Are they the frosted ones or just the bland?
They did make no. Those are those are called animal. They're the red box. They've been around for like 70 years.
Oh yeah. Those are just
the Barnum cookies.
Yeah. I used to eat them growing up. They must have been real cheap.
Yeah, really cheap. And then eventually, you used to have them like in kids' meals at McDonald's or on airplanes for kids. They had them for a while. They're very popular.
They're really disgusting.
Yeah, they're really
have
disgusting.
Just a weird sweet floury dough thing.
I assume they're made of pure poison.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. As a 6-year-old, I like them. And most people did. They were popular for a long time. But PETA got a hold of them. People for the ethical treatment of animals who don't seem to care about people that much. And made them change their box because it was circus animals. They were in cages, the lion, the elephant, the giraffe, the gorilla, and made them repaint the box after decades and decades to show the animals all free together out of the cages. That was their
because the circus is going out of business, right?
Well, they put the circus out of business. Yes, they were helpful in that.
I think the circus it became time for the circus to go. I think
I liked the circus animals, and I had no problem with them being the elephants being caged or whatnot. I didn't ever like circus people. Circus people were always scary. We don't need clowns. Clowns were scary. You could abuse the elephants. I didn't care, or the tigers. But just having guys in makeup going around playing with children was really bad. And circus peanuts, which I vomited on at least 3 times as a child.
Yeah, I only went to one circus, and I rode the elephant when I was a young kid. They brought the elephants all the way to Alaska, so I'm sure that was really good for them.
That must have been fun, though, as a kid, riding an elephant.
It was, but now I feel kind of bad.
You feel dirty.
But I don't understand this whole thing of trying to rewrite history. So
they were circus animals.
There was a circus.
There was a circus. They were circus animals. The animal crackers were pictures of animals in the circus. And now they're pictured on the box, all free together. And now half of them are predators and half of them are prey. So at some point, if you look at the next picture in the box, if they drew it, it would be like the lion killing the zebra and having his mouth around the giraffe,
Right.
slaughter him for food for his family.
And not to mention, they didn't say, okay, elephants, go roam free. They most likely shot them.
Yes.
So I don't see why they don't have the dead elephants bleeding out on the box at this point.
There's no doubt that the circuses, especially those like European, those like Bulgarian circuses and the Russian circuses, where they tasered the bears until they rode the bicycles.
Yeah.
I still, by the way, to this day, I love seeing the bears riding bicycles. I just love it. The tricycles.
Cute.
And then recently I saw a bear riding a motorcycle, and I was like, wow, the Russians are still doing this, and they've stepped up their game. This
Yeah.
is like, I would pay to see a bear on a motorcycle doing like jumps. Like, to me, that'd just
There
be really
used
cool.
to be a circus act where you would get, this was back in the 20s, I think, and I forgot the bear's name, but they had removed the bear's claws, and he wore a muzzle,
Yes.
and you could wrestle the bear.
Yeah.
You go up and wrestle the bear, and the bear had an outstanding record, as you would imagine.
Well, they weigh like, what, 600 pounds?
Yeah. I don't know how they scored it or whatever, but you just really have no chance. Regardless of the scoring system, you know, if you get a point for an escape, bear's still going to come out on top every time.
None of the stuff, I don't find this stuff bother me. When they used to, in the Atlantic City, used to ride the horses off the thing into the water. That was a thing in Atlantic City, like in the 20s and 30s. They would ride it. There would be like a diving board, a plank, and the guy would ride the horse like 6 stories up off thing into a pool.
Huh.
And it was just a thing, and everyone applauded because the horses obviously were scared shitless, but they did the jump. And sort of like in one of those cowboy movies where they show them jumping off the cliff into the water.
Yeah.
But those are all fake. But this is real, and people loved it for some reason. And I have no problem with that. I mean, most horses, I assume, are abused or eaten or like that. The horse is probably at least fed. I don't feel the same kinship. I don't want to see animals blatantly abused, but I don't feel the same kinship for animals as I do people. And PETA has clearly blurred the lines on this, whereas they want to elevate basically human rights to animals, which is really dangerous if, by chance, let's say you like to eat animal meat.
Yeah, that's a good point. They didn't say anything about the humans in the circus that were abused.
No.
Like the midgets and the
raped small people.
bearded woman, and they no mention of that.
Assume circus life was not great for the little people.
So why? So they actually focus some energy on the animal cracker people.
Yes, because they see it as a symbol of like they would put it akin to like black slavery, which is weird. I just find that weird. I mean, I understand like, okay, if you wanted to start a petition against circuses or explain to people why it's really bad to tase animals to make them do tricks, I get that. But now you're just going like, you have this religion now where everything is within your religion that you have to stop, even cartoon crackers that feature the past. It's like, this is not the same as toppling old slave owner statues or Confederate killer statues.
They're totally misguided on almost everything. And I think a lot of them are, they just hate people.
I think so too.
I don't, because, I don't know, you look at a cat and like, obviously, you know, you want a cat to, you don't want to hurt a cat, but like
some cats you want to
seeing
hurt.
a cat or a child get hit by a car does not really give me the same level of sadness.
No. When there's always squirrels in the street here that have been run over, and I always think like, oh, the crows are going to do really well today.
Right.
So someone's gonna eat those animals. And by the way, I do want to speak. I had a friend who had a cat. I don't know why. I think it was a guy. I think it was his girlfriend's ex-girlfriend's cat. The cat used to, whenever you visited, would climb to the top. It would be on top of the bookshelf, and it would launch itself at you, like with a screech.
Right.
And I just thought, like, I can't do this because this is so politically correct, but I just want to punch the fuck out of that cat in the middle of the air.
Right.
Like, I'm ready for it. Like, this time I'm just going to fucking turn and just crank it. Because that motherfucker thinks it has free reign to, like, jump on me every time. It would just launch itself, and, like, launch itself.
Yeah, why do animals, like, when a little dog barks at me, I'm like,
Yes.
You're lucky I don't fucking punt you.
Yes.
Like, don't you know I can kick your ass? I know you're a stupid animal.
Yes.
But I weigh 200 pounds. You weigh 8. Like, are you trying to intimidate me right now? Because I would think the best strategy would be to kind of blend in.
Yes, which is what little people do. The shortest guy in school does not have the biggest mouth.
Right.
It just doesn't happen. They blend in until they become like rich software geniuses, and they take it out on the rest of the world, and they do evil shit to the rest of the world.
These people are so lost. Like, their entire premise doesn't make any sense. Like, I get it because they're emotionally stunted. They like cute animals. You know, they really gravitate towards. They anthropomorphize. Is that how you
Yes.
say that? Animals. And
From too many Disney movies as kids, right?
yeah, so like if they're like you can only eat meat, well, when you grow soy in a field to make tofu out of, uh, on an agricultural scale, you have to kill any animal that comes into that field because they'll eat the crops.
Oh, they're killing it. They're for sure killing
You
animals.
displace animals,
Yes.
and when you run those thrashers, that kills everything in its path.
Right.
For wheat or for whatever grain you're talking about,
Is
and pesticides also kill all kinds of animals. Like if you're eating a salad, you've probably killed more biomass for that than if you're eating a burger.
There's probably a middle ground between like factory animal farming, which is disgusting, and all the fucking videos they have of like cutting off, shoving 85 chickens per foot and making them eat each other's shit.
Yeah, it's
and
gross.
cows. There's probably some middle ground between that and just not ever consuming an animal, which makes no sense whatsoever. Because there was a news story out, I forget which outlet put it. It must have been Vice, because Vice goes with anything with the headline, about how a third of vegetarians and vegans claim they've gone off the wagon at times to eat meat. Usually when they're intoxicated, they eat meat, which is like, and they have when their defenses are down, they have a huge hunger for meat. That's what they want, which is like signal from your body saying that, like, even if it's not the most healthiest thing for you, you have an instinct to eat meat. I compare that to priests. Like, if you can keep a priest away from sex for too long, celibate for too long, they're going to eventually go after a piece of meat, and it's going to be some kind of boy. But I mean, you can't, like, they don't go after, when they're drunk and they're like out of control, they don't go after more vegetables. They want a hamburger.
Yeah,
it's just their body telling them, like, this is something you want. So it's
yeah, it's not sustainable. I mean, that's why you have to take supplements, and it's not healthy. And definitely cows are bad for the environment, and it probably is better to eat smaller animals. But at the end of the day, like, no one really cares that much. No one's gonna say I want a hamburger, but I care about the environment. Like those vegans that got remember that crazy lady that had that vegan restaurant in New York, and her and her husband went on the run. They defrauded all these people out of their investment money. And
I remember the vegans in L.A. with that cafe, whatever it's called, and the people tracked them down and found out they were eating meat at their farm.
Oh, that happened too.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it happens a lot.
Yes. I don't trust vegans. Vegans, by the way, are always shuddering, and I don't trust them. They're always shaking or shuddering. They have they exist at a vibration level that is not normal.
Yeah.
I think it's the iron deficiency.
I think it's mostly a way to signify that they're better than you.
Yes.
So I'll go to eat with them from time to time, and it's like, I don't know, just don't come.
Yeah, and you don't have to eat meat every meal or whatever. I mean, or you could have very little meat or whatever. But the whole thing, like any zero tolerance policy, usually is some kind of person with a problem, because there's some sort of control issue. It's more of a control issue than anything else. It's not like if you eat a piece of chicken once or twice a month, it's really going to hurt anything.
Right.
Moderation, everything. I just don't like PETA people. They're all fucking nuts. Yeah, that vegan couple, they run all those. God, what are those things called? Those cafes in Gracias Cafe or Gracious Cafe, Cafe Gratitude.
Okay.
There's a bunch of them in West Hollywood. They own like 7 restaurants in West Hollywood. Their son took over the business, but some crazy vegan person tracked them down to Northern California where the original owners live. And when they had a farm that was supposedly a vegan farm, and the cows were only used for dairy, because they said they were now become vegetarian, so they were having dairy. But the woman confessed that after a while of milking the cows, after a couple of years of milking the cow, and the cow was getting old, that she decided they had to eat it. they couldn't take it anymore. They wanted the meat.
Yeah.
And they had like 6 months worth of beef in their freezer.
Well, good. I mean, there's this whole element of self-flagellation, like these Buddhist guys that torture themselves, and that helps them attain enlightenment or whatever, which, by the way, makes no sense.
The Opus Dei.
No, it's like I'm going to stare at a tree for a month. It's like, who's paying for this? Oh, yeah, so this guy came and stayed at my family's house one time, kind of a friend of a friend, and they like warned us. They're like, he's a fruitarian. I was like, what is that? It was like 18 or something. It was like, well, he only eats fruit. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's, I'm open to new ideas, kind of check into that. And then someone sat me down and go, that means that he's crazy, right?
Yes.
I go, oh, okay.
That's just fun. Like, that's
sense.
something you become when you're stranded on a desert island. Not by choice. It's just a name alone sounds fun. Matt, I want to talk about something you're very familiar with, which is old guys having sex with young women. Wait a minute. I reversed the genders on that.
I hope to be one of those old guys.
Oh, yeah. Hell yes. No, I mean, I think nothing in the story should be presumed to be a moral judgment upon older guys who have sex with younger women. I think it's, and by the way, reverse the gender too, I don't care. What you find nowadays is that almost all the old rich women are having sex with young guys too. Because as it turns out, having sex with younger people is just better in general.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yes. So there's this new trend where old guys of old, rich, or wealthy, or celebrity guys, or any guys you can who have gotten older. We just talked about Kelsey Grammer. Have always tried to have sex with young women because that's sort of the goal of being a man and why you obtain wealth and power.
Isn't there like a rule, like your age minus something? You know what I'm talking about, like a formula?
Yeah, but I think the real rule is 18. Which Asia Argento clearly missed out on. But I think you got to know: will I be arrested? If the answer is no, then it's fair game.
Gotcha.
So Dane Cook is the latest. He's in his late 40s, and he is now openly dating a 19-year-old. Although he admitted they have known each other for some time, which I don't know what that means when she's 19. But apparently he knew her before she was legal. But
was he doing a children's party or something?
To make it, no, they met at some great cause. They met at some great. Don't worry, they always meet at a march or at a charity event or something like that. It has to be a noble origin story. But they were friends, and then they became really good friends, and then they became lovers. But of course, not till she was 18. She's 19 now. So Dane Cook, among other things, he felt the need to explain, which he's never tried to explain his comedy, went on Instagram, felt the need to go on Instagram to explain why being 47, I think he is, and banging a 19-year-old was actually a really thing, just about love and connection and all sorts of stuff, and how he loved, and her family loved him, and he got along with her. They always have to say, I get along with her family really well. When they're the same age as their parents, they always have to mention that her parents are really, really lovely. We get along. I get along great with her dad.
Yeah, we golfed together.
Yes. And I'm thinking, there's just no way in hell, outside of thinking he might be getting money, there's no way in hell a father who is 47 would want his 19-year-old daughter having sex with another 47-year-old man. There's just absolutely no way a sane dad would approve of that situation.
I couldn't even look. I never thought about this. I would not be able to look the dad in the eyes.
No.
If
you're the exact same age as the dad.
Same age.
Yes.
Like, no way.
No. It's just there's something wrong about it. And everyone knows there's something wrong about it. Not legally wrong, but there's something morally, there's something about it that is, it's
unsettling.
It's unsettling. It's a fetish or something you like, and not an unusual fetish that you like much younger women. But didn't people used to keep that stuff private? Wasn't that something that, like, if you were like near 50 and you were banging like a 19-year-old girl, which I assume most every 50-year-old famous or rich guy has done at some time, didn't you used to like try not to talk about it, justify it, or bring it up in public yourself?
I don't know.
Weren't those better? Well, I mean,
I don't remember anyone bragging about it. I guess I don't know if he's bragging or trying to sort of come to terms with himself.
It's sort of a humble brag. It has a humble brag aspect to it. But it's like, I think it's because he took a lot of shit. People have been giving him a lot of shit on social media for the fact that he's basically dating this just out of high school, having sex with just out of high school girl. And then to try to explain it as like we're kindred spirits, age is not an issue, all this other crap, her family loves me, we connect on a level people don't understand. That just makes you sound like a pedophile. It's just,
yeah, it
that sounds like a priest explaining why he fucked the altar boy.
It would sound way less creepy if he just said, I like fucking her.
Yes.
She's pretty cool. You know, she's
yes.
tolerable.
Yes.
She can hold a conversation, and she blows me. What's wrong with that?
She's got a tight teenage body. She's got a tight teenage body.
It's graphic.
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, but that's the truth. We all know why he's doing it. If she was, let's say she was 69 and he's 47, and they had a kindred spirit connection. Also, she's not going to be his girlfriend. That's ridiculous. He would never go for that.
No, but in that case, his sort of manifesto would make sense.
Yes,
because it would have to be.
Yes. For instance, there's the lesbian girl. She's in a lot of movies. The one from American Horror Story. I forgot her name. She's like 45, and she's dating a 76-year-old woman.
Yeah, Paulson.
Sarah Paulson. And so when she explains it, it makes sense to, I think, you and I. Like, we read it like, age is not a number. I love this woman because we don't really care about middle-aged lesbian women anyhow. So we're like, I just assume middle-aged lesbian women actually do see beauty in all ages and stuff. Like, unlike the same age, unlike Dane Cook, who just wants to bang a co-ed aged girl.
Because lesbians also are not sex-crazy maniacs. They're not. This isn't what you see in the movies. They're not getting down all the time.
No.
They probably cuddle.
They probably have deep conversations and talk about politics and social issues and talk about acting. I think the older lady's an actress. They probably have like meaningful conversations.
They're not texting each other like, I can't wait to lick your snatch.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, I hope not.
Just, you threw me, I can't eat any more pretzels.
Did you ever see that SNL sketch? It was from a while back, like when Jim Brewer was on the show. And these guys make a wish, and they're frat guys.
Yes.
And they wish for 2 lesbians to be here right now.
Yes.
But they don't specify
Yes.
hot lesbians.
Yes.
So it's these 2 lesbians in
Butch.
sweaters, like
Yes.
eating yogurt out of each other.
Yes. Yes. It's
That's
just not what
hilarious.
Growing up on Cinemax, it was a real disappointment to especially move to Los Angeles and discover like lots of lesbians, and just how fucking incredibly boring, non-sexual, and interesting most of them are. They're not necessarily getting off motorcycles and making love like in the toilet stall. In the toilet stall, doesn't happen. And that's really sad, actually. But seriously, like, when did we go from like, okay, we all know why you're banging. This is the same thing with Robin Thicke a couple years ago when he left his wife, and then he started dating this model who was 20, I think, at the time. And they have to go on this whole thing to explain, I guess because they don't want to turn off female fans. They have to explain how it's true love and it has a deeper meaning. It's not just about me wanting to fuck a hot young girl. I think it's a wrong direction.
Yeah, well,
for guys,
I don't know how common this is either. I mean, Dane Cook is kind of an odd person.
Well, I think it's more common now that people have social. He is obviously active on social media, has a social profile because he has to publicize himself. So now he's getting pushback from women, of course, who are calling him a pedophile and calling him names and asking why he can't date a woman his own age.
What is their angle? First of all, why do they care?
Because it's disturbing to women that a guy would date someone their daughter's age, and I think it is.
Is it disturbing when a young chick fucks an old rich guy? Or do they not care about that?
No, I don't think they care about that. That's just not seen as the same sort of aggressive stuff. I don't know. I would think that if I was doing that, I would be like, I'm just not going to talk about that because it's none of your business. And you know why I'm doing it. I know why I'm doing it. Even just sex in general. I'm doing this because obviously I like it. She seems to be okay with it. It's none of your fucking business. Go away.
Yeah, I would respect that. Like, that seems to me like what Andrew Dice Clay would do if there was a similar situation. Like, if he was getting called out for having sex, I'm just picking him as sort of a no bullshit guy.
Yes.
Could be Howard Stern. I would love if he said exactly, you know why I'm doing it. I know why I'm doing it. Leave me the fuck alone.
Yes.
I'm gonna go fuck my girlfriend.
Yes. Yes, I missed that. Well, I guess if Dane Cook said stuff like that, he wouldn't be Dane Cook. He'd be someone else. Now we got an email about Lamar Odom. You're a big Lamar Odom fan. Is this someone who's surprised that Lamar Odom is alive? Amy wants to know. Big story came out this week. Lamar Odom actually shared the story. Lamar Odom revealed he had 12 strokes and 6 heart attacks during the time he went comatose at the brothel out in Vegas.
Seems like a lot.
It's like a lot. And she wants to know, why do only the good die young and the wayward people seem impossible to kill? By all accounts, no one's ever heard of a guy who had 12 strokes and 6 heart attacks in the course of like an hour and lived.
I wouldn't think it was possible. I've never heard of anything like that.
No. It's Lamar Odom. And if I may reinsert my joke, I said 12 and 6 was what the stat line people were hoping for when he played for the Lakers. That was a good night for him. But really, isn't it odd that like when you read stories like this, which is like he should be dead. I mean, he went through the shit that he should be dead or she should be dead. It's always someone not that great. Like it's always like when someone beloved or someone who really gives back to society has like a stroke or a heart attack, they just die, and then we all feel really bad.
Yeah.
But when like a whoremonger, a guy who smokes crack in hotel rooms with ladies, gets in the Kardashians, is out of a brothel, snorting cocaine and fake Viagra, goes comatose, and has to be lifted out in a helicopter because he can't fit in the ambulance because he's too tall. Those guys never die. It's just like they could have like fucking nuclear dropped the Hiroshima bomb on him. He would have been okay. There's that sort of that cockroach sort of survivability to these guys. Hey, by the way, he's not a bad guy. I don't know if he's ever, outside of the whoring and the crack and all that shit like that, whatever he did to the women he was in relationships with, he doesn't seem to be a guy with a bad bone in his body.
No, yeah, he's never hurt anyone or anything like that.
No, he's never. He seems like a dolt, if anything, a really sad, dolty guy who happened to be 6'11" and could play ball. But is there some element to that cockroach theory that like dudes who are like ne'er-do-wells just seem to survive? Think about like a Suge Knight who's been shot like 11 times. Like it's always like decent guy gets shot and he's just dead. You read the story, he gets shot, he's dead.
Right.
Suge Knight shot like 3 times in the midsection, walks out of a bar, gets a car from his valet, drives away, and he's okay. He's having a party the next night.
Yeah.
Some guys are just hard to kill.
Yeah, only the good die young thing, like it does seem to work out that way. Like, Lennon got shot or whatever, and then was it Reagan that got shot?
Reagan got shot.
And he lived.
He lived. Lennon, I think I think he got shot once, by the way, and he died by a guy who's not even. It's not like he was hit by a trained marksman, who like they will put 2 in the back of his head or 1 through his heart. He got shot by a crazy dude waiting outside with a small gun waiting outside his apartment and died. So yeah, I mean, like if that was like Odom, he would have been like, or Suge Knight, they would have walked right away, like shot 7 more times and walked away.
I mean, I think there might be a rough upbringing aspect to it.
Yeah,
like you kind of are more of a fighter by nature.
You think crack makes you stronger?
It might,
maybe.
But also, he's an elite athlete. They always have these stories of. Like, I don't know what's wrong with doctors, by the way, because it's always you'll never walk again.
Yeah.
I feel like every other person I know has been told that at some point in their
Yes,
lives.
they have.
Meanwhile, they're running marathons. It's
yes.
Like, doctors, like there's the power of positive thinking. You ever heard of that one?
I think they do that just for legal defense.
Okay.
So they don't want to ever tell someone like who's got bad legs, you'll be running like in 2 years from now, because then the person will come back and sue them.
Right.
So by always giving the most negative possibility outcome, they can never be sued for like underperforming.
Well, we might want to, as a society, maybe address this at some point. But
yes.
I do think if you're an elite athlete, like if you're good enough to play in the NBA, I mean, granted, he wasn't the most athletic of those guys, but you still have to be a super athlete.
I think just genetically, he was born with a great heart and a great brain, blood vessel system and circulatory system allowed him to survive this massive number of strokes and heart attacks.
Yeah, I just think you can survive shit. It's like, if you look at like an NFL running back, by the 5th game, they're probably, they have so many things wrong with them.
Yes.
And they're still running, and that's just what makes you elite. Like if I had 1 injury, I'd be on the bench. These guys have 6 injuries, and they're slowed down, but because they're still great even slow.
Yes.
And
also shot up with cortisone and steroids and other shit like that.
Yeah, I think that
helps
too.
There's a reason why they can't walk at 35. But it's possible with Odom. Although usually really tall guys have heart problems. Like a lot of those
you don't see tall old people walking around too often.
He won't be around at 63 to get a pubic tattoo from his eighth wife at that point. I just found it. I mean, the 12 and the 6 was just like astounding. He even said that his doctor said there's no way he should be alive, which is I mean, you hear those stories all the time, but like 12 strokes and 6 heart attacks are really really should not be alive.
Yeah, I don't know the severity of the stroke. This is not my level of expertise.
Yes.
I thought one stroke could really debilitate you.
Yes.
And now I'm just kind of thinking multiply that by 12, and that doesn't seem like you should be walking around.
Well, he didn't. I mean, for a long time, he couldn't walk and he couldn't lift. Remember, Khloe Kardashian was lifting his arm in the hospital to sign divorce papers where he gave her lots of money.
Yeah, the whole family was crowded around him for Instagram.
Yes, and they were. I mean, he really couldn't write. He couldn't write. He couldn't lift his hand. He couldn't speak for many months. So he did have a lot of ill effects, and I'm sure there's lingering effects to what he's doing. Although he's been spotted routinely in clubs drinking quite heavily.
Oh, he can still drink.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he has a slight limp and a little bit of a slur going on, but he can still walk. But that's really where I think the athleticism comes in.
Yeah,
like,
it's
I
gotta
think
be
a
genes.
non-athlete would not be walking around.
It's gotta be. It's like those 85-year-old Irish guys in the bars, like pounding the whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
It's gotta be genetics. It's just pure genetics, right?
Yeah, I mean, I always had a theory, and I don't know, how stats would back it up, but who cares? Like, at a certain point, if you don't die at 70, you're gonna be 100. If you're really abusing yourself, I'm saying. Like,
Right.
if it doesn't take you out, if you're drinking a handle of vodka a day, and if it doesn't take you out by 62,
Yes.
you're gonna be in your 90s.
Yeah. It's like your body's become like I liken it to those guys, those martial arts guys who bang their heads against the cement bricks and stuff.
Yeah.
And their cranium starts to calcify over time. So at some point, it is like just a granite rock in their head where they can just bang the crap out of anything and they don't even feel it. It's like you've like calcified your entire body to the point that like everything is like just rock, like a rock. You become like a rock. You can't actually be killed anymore.
Yeah.
Until some old age, because you've so damaged your body that it's like and it has regenerative properties for whatever genetic reason, that now like your blood vessels, everything else is just like some kind of otherworldly material, like leather. It's just become like people like leather skin when they get older. Like literally, you can't cut them. You can't cut them anymore.
Yeah, and you can't kill. Like, if you smoke, there are old guys that have smoked 2 packs of cigarettes.
Yeah.
If you're inhaling that much poison and carbon dioxide every day on a sort of hourly basis for years and years and years, like, if that doesn't kill you, you're essentially indestructible on this front.
Yes.
Like, that would, and it does kill normal people.
Yes. When I had my cancer a few years ago, I told the doctor, I said, "This is ridiculous. I never smoked my entire life, and I drink very little." And he's like, "You should have drank and smoked." All right, Matt, it's time for our final segment today. It's Panties in a Bunch, available only to our Patreon subscribers who complain about my audio engineering skills.
We'll kick in some more money.
I know. Like $1.50, I'm gonna go hire like a DP from Slovakia. Like I'm gonna get Spielberg's guys for the extra dollar. I do appreciate it. If you don't like the audio, please send money, and we'll try to make it better on my shareware software. Matt, you have something you wish to pimp and promote for the show? Sell yourself like a whore, and then come up with a Me Too story 10 years from now about it.
I was forced. Let's see, mattralston.net and Twitter at Matthew Ralston. I got on Instagram. It's my Instagram.
Are you on Instagram, really?
I just got on it.
That's a visual-based medium, man. I don't know if it's going to work for you.
Yeah, I can't wait to get like all these male followers.
Yes.
The Matt Ralston on Instagram.
I have been pointed out that many of my Twitter followers are of Arabic descent, and everyone is pointing that out. I would like to point out you're racist. B, people who don't speak English are my biggest fans. I take pride in the fact that I have like a third of my people come from the Saudi Arabia and the Emirates. I think we just have consistent moral value. We have consistent moral values that they appreciate. So it's a big world out there. What's
sure
wrong?
They're not missing the point.
They probably are. And maybe posting those naked photos every now and then. This is Lex. Join us on Patreon.com. Last minute. Talk to you next week.